Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders in-studio shoot interviews on eBay with this brand new personally autographed WWE Royal Rumble 2021 11x14 poster signed by WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, his advocate Paul Heyman, and Kevin Owens. Reigns and Owens battled for the Universal title in a last standing match January 31st in the Thunderdome in Tampa. This limited edition collector's poster is number 31 of only 50 produced. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Also comes with an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus autographed 8x10 photo. Get this rare, awesome collectible for your man cave and help keep wrestling legends working now. Wrestling fans, Saturday night, May the 8th, MWF Studios gets extreme as ECW legend New Jack joins us for the very first time, taping episodes of Wrestling Insiders along with taking part in a live cyber autograph signing open to fans around the world. For more information on joining the three-time ECW Tag Team Champion for must-see TV, visit BostonWrestling.com and our social media platforms.
Cheer! Why, hello! I would ask what was on your mind, but I already know. You want to know what has got my beard looking oh so majestic. And I'll tell you, it's sexy as hell beard care. Coconut oil, vitamin E oil, almond oil, both sweet and bitter, shea butter, it's all natural. Yes, JTG has actually come out with a high quality product. So support your boy by going to sahbeardcare.com and take one step closer to becoming sexy as hell. Cheer. Ooh, cheer. You know?
Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Memories and Legends. Season 2 continues, Tony. We already pumped out 2 great episodes about some Hall of Famers. Then we broke down WrestleMania 1 to WrestleMania 2 in your great career. Tonight we're back in action. We polled the fans, over 47,000 that follow us at MWF Project X. They gave us some ideas for Hall of Famers to speak with here on Backlash Sunday. Tony, one of the biggest superstars, if not the biggest in the history of the industry, They want to talk about your experiences, your memories with the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Well, Hogan, the best way to describe Hulk Hogan would be these words: self-made. Hogan did not get a break when he was in Georgia.
Now, hold on one second. We have an important phone call coming through. We're going to have to stop that. We'll be back soon enough, whoever that was.
Tommy Wildfire Rich went to Ole Anderson, the booker, tried to get Ole to do something with Hulk Hogan in 1978, to work a program with me. Because I was a big wrestler and they needed someone, a big heel to work with. Ole said, forget about the big dummy. Then Hogan left, went to WWF. He put over everybody. They jobbed him out. Jobbed him out to me. Bob Backlund beat him. Jimmy Snuka beat him. Hogan couldn't whoop nobody.
Now, this is when he was a heel and managed by Freddie Blassie?
Freddie Blassie.
Yep.
He didn't get a break in WWF. Hogan, they sent a thing to the office where they wanted a wrestler over 6 feet tall, over 300 pounds. They saw a picture of Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, Gorilla Monsoon. Everybody was making money but Hogan. Hogan was the only one to show up for the audition. Hogan went there, made a name for himself in Rocky
Three.
Went back to Vern Gagne.
Minnesota, yep.
Vern Gagne gave Hogan his first break in wrestling. Hogan was selling out everything. Vince Jr. saw that. He got Hogan to leave Vern and come to work for him. Then he used Hogan to put Vern Gagne out of business.
He did.
He used Junkyard Dog, got his first break in the business from Cowboy Bill Watts. Vince got Dog, used Dog to put Cowboy Bill Watts out of business. And Ted DiBiase to put Bill Watts. Ted DiBiase got his break in Mid-South, showed the Junkyard Dog. Hogan, the guy that built Hulk Hogan, was Vern Gagne. Mm-hmm. Then he came and then Vince used him to build the empire that he built now. Now, Hogan was smaller than most because he remembered how he was treated before. About 50% of the commercials and things that Hogan did, Vince didn't get them things for Hogan. Hogan got them for Hogan. Mm-hmm. Hogan been his own man since he won the belt. So a lot of times when you see Hogan in something, a commercial, the Right Guard commercial, that Right Guard commercial Vince didn't get for Hogan. That Hogan got for Hogan. You know, in fact, Hogan passed up the George Foreman grill. It went to Hogan first.
That was a mistake.
And Hogan, instead of taking the George Foreman grill, he took a blender for protein drinks or something. That found out that he passed up that. But all these deals were coming to Hogan. Hogan made it his own contract. Hogan pretty much is self-made. I know Vince, a lot of people want to take credit. Vince helped a lot now.
He gave him the platform.
He gave him the platform. But Hogan created the image for Vince to work with. So 50%, I would say 70% of what Hogan did during Hulkamania was done by Hogan. He's a self-made man, self-made.
What was a young Hogan like? I know you two had a feud in the
very
early
nice
80s.
guy. Always been a very nice guy. Always treated me great. He always treated me great. Even way back when when I first met him, he always treated me great. I never, ever had a problem with Hogan. Never. In fact, he used to piss Vince off a lot because I was on the shit list, and Hogan would see me waiting for a cab to go to the building, and Hogan would put me in the limousine with him and Vince.
Really?
Yeah.
Good. Well, you know what? It's good to remember your friends.
He said, come on. He said, you my friend. You get in here. So Vince would come back and get in the limousine, I'm sitting there. Used to piss Vince off. Hogan would do that just to piss him off. He would come and tell me, he said, watch I make him squirm.
Well, let me ask you this. What was Hogan like when he came back for the big push, when he beat the Sheik for the title? Any
The
change
same?
in him?
No,
Or
never
no change
changed.
in him at all?
I can see Hogan right now today. Hogan would treat me just like, you meet Hogan. Hogan always never changed.
I tell you a funny story. I met him once in a locker room at WCW. And, you know, you hear the stories. He's this, he's an asshole. He held this
Nice
one
guy.
back. I tell you this, in 2013, we worked with TNA, now known as Impact Wrestling,
Right.
with one of their fan fests. And our good friend, Pat Catino, who owns a couple of gyms in the area, in 2014, I was with the man for about 8 hours straight at these two appearances, especially in 2014. And he was one of the nicest, most genuine people you could meet.
Yeah, down to earth, no success with the head, always took care of his friends. Hogan is a good person. It's nothing I can say bad about Hogan. When that thing took it, I even put a little tape on my Twitter page when they said that Hogan was a racist. I said, no, Hogan ain't no racist. I know Hogan very well. Because he used the N-word don't make him a racist. A lot of people use names but don't make him a racist. You know, Snoop Dogg used the N-word all the time, but don't make him a racist, you know. No, Hogan just got angry because guys promised him they're going to help his daughter in the music career. And instead of trying to help her in the music career, they're trying to help her into their bedroom. And if that was my daughter, I would have got pissed off and called them names too.
Sure.
That's his daughter.
And that was said in a private conversation. He didn't know he was being recorded either.
Well, that ain't the point. The point of it is that's his daughter. And when you mess with a man's daughter, you know, it's special. But father and daughter relationship is very, very special. And these guys were trying to turn his daughter out. And Hogan knew that. They're going to turn his daughter into what we call an arena rat. He didn't want that for his daughter. That's why he never let her into the wrestling, because he was always afraid that the wrestler was going to turn his daughter into what we call an arena rat.
A rat, yeah.
Into a rat. And he didn't want that for his daughter. So he got these guys that he trusted. They're going to help his daughter to get into the music career. And they trying to make her into something that sleazy and use her for their own sexual gratification. And he wasn't going to go for it. Yes, he called him a name.
Any father
No
would
father
be
would have
angry.
go there.
Any
And the only
father.
reason Hogan got so much gripe about it because he was Hulk Hogan.
Right.
And when you're up like this, people are always looking for some type of way of bringing you down. But Hogan always will be one of my best friends, if not the best friend I've had.
Have you talked to the Hulkster over the past few years?
Huh?
Have you heard from him in the past few years?
Not really,
No.
but when he was making appearances, one thing about Hogan, I remember one time he was in Maine, the first time he started, when he was pushing his daughter's music career, and somebody went back in the dressing room and said, Tony Atlas out there. And Hogan come out of the dressing room, looking through the crowd for me, saw me, come on back here.
Now, what was it at a concert?
Yeah,
or?
it was at what they call it's right up in Maine, it's Six Flags or something like that, where they had the water slide.
Oh, an amusement park?
Yeah, the amusement park. They had a
why
water
were you
slide.
there?
Well, I went there to see Hogan because I hear his daughter was performing there.
Oh, you went to see him?
Yeah, because his
Okay.
daughter was performing. She was singing. So he was getting her book. He was taking her places to get a book to get a music career off. And they came to Maine and treated me like gold. I was down in the Icon of Wrestling, 2013. He was there. The Ultimate Warrior was in room. I told the guy, I tell the Ultimate Warrior, Tony Atlas said, the Ultimate Warrior came back and said, nobody comes in unless they got a ticket. I told the guys, go tell Hogan I'm outside. Hogan come out of the back, grabbed me and took me in the back. That was the difference between the Ultimate Warrior and Hogan.
A genuine human being.
Greatest guy you want to meet in life.
I've heard a lot
Hogan is the greatest guy you ever want to meet in your life. He's a true American gentleman. He's a great, great, great guy. I have nothing bad to say about Hogan. And anybody got anything bad to say about Hulk Hogan is full of shit.
Do you think at any time Hogan professionally tried to hold people back for his own gain?
No.
Never?
Never.
Really?
No.
You don't
he didn't
think...
have to.
Well,
Why?
He
He didn't have to. He was over like $1 million when he beat the Iron Sheik. Couldn't nobody touch him even if they wanted to. The fans put Hogan there, not no promotion. The promotion didn't do that. He didn't hold no wrestler back. A lot of wrestlers grew under Hogan. A lot of them. Look at all the guys that got developed under the Hogan title. Randy Savage, Mr. Wonderful.
What a run they had in '86.
Mr. Wonderful, the Killer Bees. I mean, look at all the guys that grew under Hogan Championship. Grew under it. If he was trying to hold people back, who did he try to hold back? Who?
Guys that weren't as successful as he was.
That had nothing to do with Hogan. They couldn't put their asses in the seat. That's up to Vince. They got nothing to do with Hogan.
You were there.
If you draw money for Vince, Vince putting you on top. If you're not making money for Vince, if Vince put more money in you than what you bring to the table, he's not going to keep you in that spot. Yeah. No businessman going to keep you running the store if you're not bringing in no revenue. Hogan brought in the revenue. He put asses in the seat. And during that period of time, couldn't nobody sell. I was on the undercard with Hogan, making $4,000 a week.
Wow.
On the undercard.
Working on the Hogan shows was a good thing.
Everybody want to be on them. And a lot of guys became popular because of Hogan. Because Hogan brought that audience and that attention to wrestling that would have never been there, and these guys would have never, like Paul Orndorff would never be what he were if it wasn't for Hogan. Randy Savage would never been what he was if it wasn't for Hogan. And then Hogan made other people too. Look, Mr. T, he made Mr. T.
Bigger.
Right, and he's the one that made WrestleMania. Look, he sold out stadiums.
Well, right now there is
The only guy that came close to taking Hogan's place was Undertaker. That's it. There had never been a phenomenon like Hogan other than the Undertaker. Brock Lesnar ain't going to be able to do what Hogan did. He's not.
What about John Cena?
No.
Really?
No.
All right, well.
No. Because Hogan came along at a time. The time is different. You see, John got more to work with than Hogan did. Hogan didn't have all that competition. John Cena do. You got so much on cable television. Hogan came along in the 80s, right at the beginning of cable, where they didn't have a lot of great American heroes. He was an all-American boy. The timing is everything. John Cena, yes, he's just as great a wrestler as Hogan. He's just as big a draw as Hogan. But John got more to compete against. There was no UFC during Hogan time. There was no big white athletes in any sport except for Hogan.
Yeah.
Now you got other things. There's too much. John got a harder road to travel than Hogan did. And that's why it's going to be so hard for anybody to follow and do what Hogan did with the with Hulkamania. Because it hit at the right time. Kind of like Stallone, the Rocky movie.
I think
if you made them same movies today, they would not have the impact today that they did then. You see what I'm saying? Because the time have changed. So John got more to compete against than what Hogan did. I mean, what was on TV during the 80s? The only cable TV they had was Channel 17 and HBO. Now you got over 100 cable TV. So he got to compete against a whole lot more.
I think you had to live it just to realize and understand how hot and how big Hulk Hogan was in the 1980s.
It was amazing.
It wasn't just wrestling. He was everywhere.
He was everywhere.
He was everything.
There was nothing like him nowhere.
I believe there was some kind of a poll run that he was the most recognizable athlete in the world in the 80s. More than any football player, basketball, baseball.
That's right. Nobody was as big as Hulk.
What was it like for Hogan? You said you traveled with him in limousines. Were the fans everywhere waiting for him?
They had to put him on a private plane.
Really?
I saw him come through the airport one time, but he almost missed his flight because people was around.
Mobbing him?
But they wouldn't let him get on the plane.
Wow.
He almost missed his flight. The stewards had to come and push people out the way. Come on, get on. And he got on the plane. The pilot couldn't even fly the plane for one to come back and talk to him.
Everybody, the fans.
Well, it's kind of like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali hit that sport at the right time.
Yeah.
And nobody ever became as big as Ali. Mike Tyson didn't do it. Foreman didn't do it. Not even Mayweather. Mayweather is not talked about and got the same, not like Ali. It's timing is everything. If you hit it at the right time. See, I had my time. If I kept my nose clean and did what I was supposed to do during the 80s, I would have been just as big as Hogan. Not as big.
But you would have been in that category. You would have been huge.
I would have been in that category with Jimmy Snuka and Ronnie Piper. I would have been in that category. I would have never reached the status of the Ultimate Warrior or Andre the Giant or Hulk Hogan. I was not that in that category. But I could have.
But you would have been pressing up against that glass ceiling where they were.
Right. Yeah. I would have been right there with Randy Savage, Paul Orndorff, Ronnie Piper. I would have been right along that era. But because of my stupidity, I worked. Hogan. This is what Hogan told me. He said, since he's been in the business, he's seen a lot of people work their way from the bottom to the top. He said, I'm the first guy he ever met that worked his way from the top to the bottom.
I think you put that in your book. That's interesting.
Hogan told me that. I gave him a ride. It was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Never forget it. He said, "You the first person, Tony, that I knew that worked his way from the top to the bottom." He said, "Most people work their way from the bottom to the top."
Is he the biggest star in the history of wrestling?
Hogan, yeah.
Bigger than Austin?
Oh, yeah.
Bigger than Rock?
Well, he was the pioneer of all that. He's the one that created all that. You see what I'm saying? There'd be no Rock. None of this would be. Hogan put him in the position to overshadow every wrestler in the world. You had the hardest wrestler in the world. So who are they going to use against you? Couldn't use Dustin. Dustin was already used up.
Yeah.
Who was there to challenge him?
Interesting. Always interesting.
The only guy that could have challenged him would have been Flair.
You think Flair could have been as big as Hogan in
Where
WWF?
Flair
In WWF in the mid-'80s?
Where Flair was. Flair was huge. But the thing with Ric Flair was he didn't, Vince was not going to give him that push that he gave Hogan. He always kept Flair just a hair step behind.
Yeah.
But it's Charlotte. I mean, Flair was big longer than Hogan, and much more longer than Hogan. Flair is the greatest wrestler that ever been in this business. I mean, nobody could outdo Flair.
He was, I look at him as maybe the greatest champion of all time.
Oh, he
held the championship with such great prestige,
Yeah.
such great class.
Him and Harley Race.
Yeah.
You can't leave Harley Race out.
Just a great world champion.
Yeah.
He may not be as big of a star as Hogan was,
No.
but he is a
great
world champion.
Well, see, Hogan hit it at a time. Flair was a big time was from the 70s to the 90s. You got to realize when Hogan got big, it was almost the 90s. He got big 85 and up.
When he became a national phenomenon.
Right in the late 80s, early 90s. By that time, Flair was coming to an end. Flair hit his highlight in the 70s and 80s. So Flair was before Hogan. They didn't have the media behind him that Hogan had. And with John Cena, there's too much media.
Yeah, too much is a great way to put it.
Well, yeah, because you watch television today, a person, you're sitting there watching a TV program, commercial come on, what'd you do?
Change the channel.
There was nothing to change to in Hogan.
There weren't many channels, yeah.
There were, if Hogan's on, what is there to change? You watch a commercial because there was nothing else on.
Right.
What do you have, 5 stations at the most?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Tony. The Hogan issue, it's well known. WWE cut ties with him after that tape, the sex tape.
Did they put him
surfaced.
back in the Hall of Fame?
I think he's still out, but the rumor mill as of the time we're taping this is WWE is having conversations with him to see how he may fit into WWE in a positive way, maybe to help others learn from his mistakes. Do you think Hogan deserves a chance to be back in WWE?
There'd be no WWE without Hogan.
You think he should go home?
Of course they should bring that man back. Why not? He helped build that.
Do you think the fans would welcome him with a warm
Of course
embrace?
they will. They don't look at that silly stuff like that. I mean, what he did wrong?
All right. Well,
What he did wrong?
Tony, in a couple of sentences, wrap up Hulk Hogan to the general fan that never met him in person.
Hulk Hogan was a pioneer. He the one that helped McMahon bring wrestling to what it is today. Hulk Hogan took wrestling out of the small auditorium and high schools, and he put wrestling in civic centers. He helped Vince put wrestling in stadiums. You know, WrestleMania every year, who headlined WrestleMania and sold places out? I mean, this guy sold out the Silverdome. This guy is known by every kid in the world. Wrestling
Even the kids today. Even the kids today, yeah.
Hogan electrified wrestling. You can't take that from him. There would be no WWE. There was nobody around at that time that could have put WWE where it is today other than Hulk Hogan, regardless of what anybody say about it.
All right, Tony.
I was there. I felt it.
Well, like I said, I've heard a lot of secondhand stories, but
They
my
didn't know.
interactions.
Anybody that told you anything bad about Hogan didn't know Hogan. Hogan used to invite me to his parties.
Yeah.
Had food spread out on the table, beer laying out the stuff. Told him, come on and eat. Whatever is for him is for the boys. Hogan would go in the office and fight with Vince for one of his friends.
Wow.
He
Well,
would
I
put his neck
respect
on
that.
the chopping block for one of his friends. every time he got something, you know that he put Shag and all these guys in the movies and stuff with him. He looked after people. He's a great guy.
Well, again, that's firsthand experience from a man that worked with
Hey,
Hogan.
I knew him before he became Hulk Hogan. I knew him when he was Terry Bowling.
Sterling Golden.
In fact, I got a picture of me press live. Not Hulk Hogan. Sterling Golden.
All right.
He had the gold boots on and the red trunk.
Unbelievable.
He became Hulk Hogan in '85. I met him in '77.
Well, he was Hulk Hogan before '85.
No.
Yes, he was.
No, not that Hulk Hogan.
Not that. Okay,
No,
I see
he
what
was
you're
not
saying.
that Hulk Hogan. No, he was not that Hulk Hogan.
All right.
He had that little V-they cut on his chest, remember?
I do remember that. Yeah,
That's
that,
right.
he did. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, right now, fans, we're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we have more Memories and Legends.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the momentum here in Boston wrestling continues as we continue to build and build and build. The fans want to know, how do we help? We subscribe to the Patreon, but we see all the great merchandise on that set. Coronavirus may have killed the nightlife, especially for someone like Marty, but our acclaimed eBay store is open 24/7 around the world.
Wow. Check it out.
At WrestleMania 37, she defeated Asuka to become the new Raw Women's Champion, and here is your chance to own a piece of Rhea Ripley on this beautiful limited edition autographed 11x14 poster direct from friends at WWE. Number 50 of only 50 made, includes WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Suitable for framing and matting, you'll also receive a bonus Legends autographed 8x10 photo and an on-air thank you on Wrestling Insiders as our thanks for helping keep Wrestling Legends working. Get this ultra-rare Rhea Ripley autograph poster now.
Wrestling fans, welcome back to Memories and Legends. We certainly have a legend here, the WWE Hall of Famer, Tony Atlas.
The old fought.
Talking about WWE Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame night back on April 6th. We had a good time breaking down 4 of them. This time, the fans requested an interesting one. I remember you were here with us a couple years back with myself and John Cena Sr., and you got kind of angry when this came up. We're talking about, well, we're going to group 2 of them together where they're probably best known in this way, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. I know you had some experiences with them in WCW when you had a short run down there.
Well, see, a lot of the guys I can't really speak on because even though I have seen them in the dressing room and in my tribal, I don't think I have said more than 2 words to Scott Hall.
Really? And weren't you guys together in WCW?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But they didn't socialize with me.
Really?
I don't think I said more than 2 words with him the whole time I've been on it. Kevin Nash, the main thing I remember about him, I had one conversation with him the whole time I was in WCW. Barbarian, I was traveling with him. I didn't have a credit card. So Barbarian's wife took his credit card from him because he was running the bill up
high,
too much.
yeah.
So she said she's not going to give him the credit card. So Dallas Page told Barbarian, said, oh, I get 2 cars. I put one on, I would get you a car. So we get to the airport. I was supposed to ride with Barbarian. Dallas Page changed his mind about doing it.
Really?
So now me and Barbarian, we stuck at the airport, and we couldn't get a rental car. So Kevin Nash came over, and he said, I get y'all a car. So he got a car for me and the Barbarian on his credit card. And that was the first and only time that I ever talked to Kevin Nash.
Really?
Yeah.
He helped you out
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah. And that was the first and only time I had any type of interaction with him. I mean, I've seen him on a couple of independents, but the guys don't really socialize with me that much.
Well, what kind of got you hot when we had that discussion was the amount of money that they got when they went to WCW. I think in your head you were trying to calculate where you were considering your stature in professional wrestling, and they walked into $750,000 a year contracts.
Yeah.
You were a little angry about that.
Oh, yeah, well, most wrestlers are, guys that have been around a long time, and you see a guy walk through the door and make 5 times the money you make, and, you help build pretty much WCW, because that at first was Mid-Atlantic and Georgia Championship Wrestling and Florida Championship Wrestling.
Right.
And so I wrestled all 3 territories and drew money for them. It was well known in the area. They come with a new company, and the guys like me, Tommy Rich, and the guys that helped build that area, Ole Anderson got kicked to the curb, George Scott got kicked to the curb, and they just kicked all those old timers to the curb and brought in just new guys. Of course I'll be angry about that. Yeah. And I'm very sure that George Scott and Ole Anderson and all the guys that was around, Wahoo McDaniel, that was around, Black Jack Mulligan with Barry Windham and his son, they all got kicked to the curb, and they brought in all these new guys and started paying them big bucks. So,
well,
yes.
Do you think maybe the wrestlers are at fault? You look at every form of entertainment now, every form of sport, and the salaries are out there. The wrestlers, they try and hush, hush, hush anything that has to do with money, and in the end, they shoot themselves in the foot because they have no negotiating or bargaining power.
When I first started in the wrestling business, they said, Tony, if you leave this business and you have one friend, consider yourself lucky. See, what a lot of people don't know, wrestlers are not friends. They business associates. Mm-hmm. Every wrestler is a subcontractor. WWE, the only employees of the WWE is who works in the office.
In Stamford, yeah.
Every wrestler on WWE roster is a subcontractor. They pay their own insurance, they pay their own taxes, they get a flat check. When they get that check from Vince, there's nothing come out of it. He don't take out Social Security.
Nothing.
He don't take out Medicaid. He don't take out Medicare. He don't take out nothing. You get a flat fee. You have to pay your own taxes every quarter. Vince don't do that. So if a wrestler is not good at doing his taxes, he can end up broke at the end of that year.
Real easy.
Right. A wrestler had to know more about paying his taxes than he have to know about wrestling.
Right.
In fact, wrestling is the easy part. When the guy asked me one time, I said, what is the safest spot for a wrestler? The safest spot for a wrestler is in the ring. Because in the ring is the only place the wrestler can take care of himself. The most dangerous spot for a wrestler is in a car with other wrestlers or in the dressing room. Because you get to trusting people. Mm-hmm. And you say something, and like MacDonald Vachon said, if a story is worth telling, it's worth embellishing. Give you a prime example that I was coming back from Japan, and I went to go to Los Angeles. On my way back, I was going to party with my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So she wanted to go out and get some drugs and some alcohol and all this and that stuff. So I used to carry a little wallet. That's why I started carrying a fanny pack. I just carry a wallet. So we went to this hotel called the Beverly Hillcrest, and my wallet dropped out on the seat. Mm-hmm. I had $300 in my wallet. So we went upstairs and we partied and everything. All of a sudden, I reached for my wallet to get something. I can't find my wallet. So I go downstairs. I tell the guy I left my wallet in the car. So the guy goes to search the car. He found my wallet, my credit card, and my license, everything in the wallet. But the $300 in cash is gone.
Really?
So I go to the dressing room that night. And I tell the boys that the guy just lift me for $300. S.D. Jones picked me up at the airport the next day. Hey, Tony, I hear you lost $10,000.
$300 to 10 grand overnight?
Overnight.
That is wrestling. If that's a classic wrestling story.
If a story is worth telling, it's worth embellishing. Wrestlers got a way of, if I tell you a story, then when you tell it, you add a little something to it. Then he adds something to it. By the time the story I think it's up to 20 grand now.
Well, you didn't really answer the question, though, Tony. Do you think the wrestlers shoot themselves in the foot
All
by
the
not
time.
putting the information out there?
All the time.
I mean, if you know, I don't want to even try and begin.
Wrestlers always been their own worst enemy. I used to go to we found, me and SD, we found a nice gym to go to, a nice hotel where people took real good care of us. And every wrestler, all the old timers said, don't tell the other boys because somebody will mess it up. We had a hotel in Bradford, the Bradford Hotel, downtown Boston, right near Chinatown, called the old Bradford. All the rooms at that time was $100, $150 a night. We paid $25 a night.
Wow.
We stayed at the Howard Johnson right here in Rivera. Mm-hmm. $25 a night. Angela Mosca decided to wait at the elevator, and then people come down the elevator, he urinate on them.
On the people?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And everybody was scared of him. So here this big guy, he's drinking beer, And when you got to go to the bathroom, you go stand by the elevator. When you come in the elevator, he urinate on
Did
you.
he do it purposely?
Yes. And so they kicked us all out the hotel.
He
No more big
enjoyed
deal.
urinating on
There
the
was
people?
a time in the 80s that if you went to the airport and you told them you was arrested, they would not rent your car.
Really?
Yeah, you had to, like the British Bulldog, they would take a car and they would tear it all to pieces. Rip the bumper off, rip the dashboard off. The Dynamite Kid would take a car and drive it. And when he take that car back later on, the bumper be hanging off, all the headlights is knocked out, the windshield is all kicked out of it. He would kick the windshield out of a car.
Wow.
And I used to ask him all the time, I said, why you do that? He said, ain't mine. There was hotels that would not let wrestlers stay in the hotels. And then Vince Jr. started tightening up on him. That's when he became a bad guy.
What do you mean he tightened up?
You got fired for doing that.
Oh, really?
Oh, you got
that's
fanned.
That's tightening
he
up.
fanned you. Yeah, he would fan
In
you
a
or
good
fire
way.
you for doing that
That's
stuff.
ridiculous.
Yeah, guys used to bring girls in the room. Guys used to party. Used to tear up hotel room. Ric Flair, I remember one time watching a football game on TV. Got mad, grabbed the TV, threw it out of the window into the swimming pool.
Flair did that?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
They didn't care.
the 80s was a wild time.
Yeah, they didn't care.
It was a wild
They
time.
didn't care about people's property.
Yeah, well, that's not right.
Yeah, they did. Johnny Valentine would ride with you and take a can open and cut up your back seat and say, "Oh man, you got ripped off on this car. Look at here. Look at all the cotton. Look at that. Put like pulling cotton out
Who
your
was it
seat."
that did that?
Johnny Valentine.
Wow.
Yeah, I seen guys do some horrible stuff to people's property.
Well-
They had no respect for people's property. What it is, a lot of guys back then, they got so big that they could get away with pretty much anything. I seen guys drunk, could barely walk. Police pull them over. Don't even give them a ticket.
Really?
Yeah, well, look at the Slooker incident. I mean, how many times can you kill a girl in your room and go home that night and go arrest her that night? Come on. You kill a girl and you go arrest her that night. How can you do that?
You're talking about your old buddy, the Superfly?
Yeah. You know, guys got away with everything.
Well-
Rape. There was guys that went to Japan and raped girls.
Really?
Yeah. This boy, Cowboy, what his name was, raped a girl in Japan.
Cowboy
Walked away
who?
from, what was his name? Lane or something like that? Back in the 60s and early 70s.
That was a little before my time.
Yeah, he was like
Tony.
a rapist. I knew child molesters.
Well, that's a different story for a different time.
I know, but I mean, the promotion knew.
Well,
Remember Vince got in all that trouble not too
Oh,
long?
yeah,
See,
more than once,
and
yeah.
And the guys that did it stayed there.
I don't know, Tony. The wrestling world is an interesting...
Celebrities. Well, it wasn't just wrestling with celebrities in a whole.
in general, yeah, it's
In
not just
general,
wrestlers.
If you was a
but-
celebrity, and people got mad at Donald Trump for saying it, he being honest. When you rich and famous, you could do what you want to women. He's not bad-mouthing women. They throw themselves at you when you're rich and famous. I had so many women chasing me when I was young that I thought I was good looking. I thought I was cute. Then when my career ended,
They all went away.
they wouldn't look at me sideways. Yeah. But that's
So
how
it
is.
was the fame.
That's how it is in that world back, especially in the 70s. And well, look at Elvis. Elvis walk on stage, they falling out. They would do anything for Elvis. Elvis could do anything to them women he wanted to at that time. But now, everybody figured out a way of becoming their own superstar, becoming their own millionaire. You just sue them.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong about that.
We get sued now. If we did 1/3 of the stuff today that we did now, we all get sued.
Can you imagine?
That's right.
Can
That's
you
right.
imagine the 80s with Twitter and things like that?
I'll forget
What
about
would the
it.
wrestling business have turned into?
Oh, forget about it. You know, I mean, everybody gets sued. Everybody we got sued back then. I know Jake Roberts telling me a story about the guy wanted his autograph. He followed Jake up to his room. Jake signed his autograph, go to shut the door. The guy stick his foot in the door. Jake said, "Brother, you know, I got to go to bed. I got to catch a 6 a.m. flight, you know." He said, "I'm only going to get 3 hours sleep." It's like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Jake only going to lay down for maybe about 2 hours, and he got to get up, shower,
yeah.
and go catch a flight. But the guy wouldn't leave Jake alone, so Jake just got a little agitated. So Jake took his hand and pushed the guy. Just pushed him. Shut the door. About an hour later, the police. Cost Jake $225,000 for that.
Get out of here. Really?
Yeah.
Never heard that story.
There's people would go to wrestling matches that would pick a fight with a wrestler, get the wrestler to hit them just so they could sue him.
Sue him, yeah. I've heard stories like that. I never heard that one about Jake in the
You
hotel.
take like Mrs. Hyde. She used to flash you all the time. Flash you all the time. Come in the dressing room, pull the blouse up. Do it every day. Dusty Rhodes took a picture of her, put it on his wall. She got fired. She sued WCW.
Well, I don't know how many women would really be thrilled with a giant poster-sized photo on the wall with their breast exposed in an office.
That picture lay there for almost a year and nobody said nothing. It only became an issue when she got fired.
And I think she
Then it became an issue when she got fired.
She got a handsome reward for that photo, I believe. So that was probably the best picture that was ever taken of her.
If they had never fired her, she would have never said nothing.
Maybe not.
She did it after she got fired. Just like this concussion thing. I saw one name on it, John Lear Jonathan. He was wrestling before Vince was born.
Oh,
now he's going to sue Vince for concussion, and Vince wasn't even living when this guy was wrestling.
We could talk about the concussion lawsuit great in depth in another episode, but my point of contention is, I've seen the list, there's maybe 50, 60 guys on it, but how do they know they got these specific concussions while working for WWE? A lot of these guys worked in the territory system. I mean, they worked in 15, 20 different promotions throughout their career.
Just like this.
Let me give you an example real quick. Someone like Matt Bourne. He spent maybe 2 years out of his career in WWE. He worked all over the country, but he's trying to sue WWE for those concussions. How do you know the specific concussions took place while working as an independent contractor for WWE? I don't know how you can prove that.
How can OJ walk free?
Well, that's a different story for a different time, Tony. I know that's
It's
one of
your
your
lawyer.
favorites. Yeah?
If the lawyer is better than the prosecution, you're going to win. If the prosecution is better than your lawyer, you're going to lose. It is no right or wrong. There's no such thing as right or wrong. If might is right. What make one thing right and another thing wrong, the winner is always right and the loser is always wrong. That's why they could do it. When a football player, when you take the biggest sport organization in the world and you could buckle them at the knees with a concussion claim, why do you think other people are not going to try the same thing?
Do you think
it worked for the MFL? The lawyer was able to break into the MFL.
$1 billion, I
$1
believe.
billion. So the guy said, if they get $1 billion out of the MFL, we could get it out of these guys too.
$1 billion would crush WWE. They don't have that much money.
Nobody thought about concussions until after the MFL.
Not to say that these concussions don't exist.
I didn't
My
say they
point
didn't,
of contention is
I think-
NFL football players play for the NFL. If they get a concussion as a professional, it happened in the NFL.
Right.
For a guy that worked in 10, 15 different territories, how do you know that specific concussion took place in WWE?
But that's my point. That ain't the point.
All right. Well, let me ask.
Nobody care about Pacific. All you got to do is prove you got it. And if you've been in that ring more than one time, then you in. Well, it's kind of like you have a relationship with a woman. She said you rape her.
Hey, it is the way of the world.
You're going to jail if you can't prove you didn't, even if she consented to it. You're going to jail.
Well, let's go back to this, Tony.
It's the same thing. You got in this world what you call, once you open up Pandora box, it's hard to close that box.
It sure is.
So everybody's going to jump on that bandwagon. You know, you got ambulance chasers. You got lawyers that just come out of lawyer school, and they're going to jump on every opportunity to make a name for themselves. You know, when you take with the OJ trial, nobody knew Marshall Clark, Johnny Cochran. They didn't know who these people were.
No one knew them, yeah.
They more famous than anybody now for that one trial, that one thing. Who in the world knew Monica Lewinsky? It was for Bill Clinton.
All right, well, I don't know what Monica's up to these days, but Tony, let me ask you this. In the mid-'80s, you had Sergeant Slaughter make an attempt to try and rally the boys to unionize, and he was kind of ousted from WWE for that. Jesse Ventura tried to rally the boys before WrestleMania 2 and say, you know what, if none of us wrestle and we try and unionize, they're not going to have a show. It would crush WWE. You were around in those days. Do you think in the end that the boys would have been better off unionized and have some sort of protection and benefits as opposed to nothing as an independent
The first
contractor?
guy to try to do this was a wrestler by the name of Sputnik Monroe. And I asked Button and Monroe, because it didn't work back then. The guy that's making $200,000 a year could give a red ass about the guy making 50. There's a thing called human nature. If I'm doing good, I don't care if this guy's doing bad, as long as I'm doing good. It's a thing called human nature. A person would go and buy themselves a $60,000 or $70,000 truck. They would spend $60,000 or $70,000 on a truck. See a homely person on the street and wouldn't give him a quarter.
Really?
Human nature.
Well, Tony, in the end, do you
That's
think,
why
the boys would have been better off unionized or not?
Of course they would have.
So
but
why
the problem,
wouldn't they rally together? Was it the top
people,
guys that wanted to squash the little guys?
Well, the top guys don't care unless you get the top guys involved.
What if the top guys could have made more money? I think that's
They
the
don't
problem.
look at it. They doing good.
They should have looked at it that way.
They don't look at it
They
that way.
should have looked at it that way.
They don't look at it. Ric Flair told me the same thing. He said, as long as, see, that's how you divide and conquer. You give this group a lot of money. You give this group a little bit of money. Well, the group they're doing okay, they're not worrying about the group they're not.
Well, look at WWE in 2017. It's a public company. They have to release their information. You're talking about 10% of the gross went to the boys. 10%. You look at an NFL team, you look at a Major League Baseball team, you're talking about half. Half the pie is going to the actual players / talent. WWE, 10%. You know Cena is almost an 8-figure guy when he's around full-time, and you have Lesnar making big money. But those other guys you talked about
They're
in
not
one
making
of
no money.
the other interviews, $100,000 guys,
right.
there is more money out there, but they've never pushed to try and get it.
No.
And I think it's their own fault.
No, because there is no unity.
Right.
There is no unity among wrestlers.
Right.
Because wrestlers are individual contractor. Like if you start wrestling, you use your name. John Cena is not a person, it's a corporation. Tony Atlas is not a person, it's a company. Undertaker is not a person, it's a company. Hulk Hogan is a company. So you got all these little small companies that come together to form one big company. So if I'm making mine, I don't care if you're making yours or not. The business always been like that, always, from the beginning. It's never going to change.
All right.
It's never going to change. And it's a thing called human nature. See, if you learn wrestling, you learn human beings, because we have to know our audience. If in the olden days, if Mrs. Johnson's house burned down, the whole community would get together and help her to build a new house. Today, Mrs. Johnson's house burned down, we don't care. As long as it's not our house.
All right. Well, Tony, it's
Kind of like a prime example, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, right?
Yeah.
Anybody care?
not as much as they did last fall, and the Puerto Rico still has a lot of
Anybody
problems
care?
right now.
I remember after 9/11. 9/11 now. A month later, nobody cared.
Oh,
it
I
didn't
don't know
happen.
about
Didn't
that.
happen to
I don't know about that. All
I've
right,
seen
well,
it. I've seen it. You don't hear nothing
We
about
certainly
it.
got off track in this one.
Well, no, it's the same thing. It's not off track. It all in the same thing.
There was a segment about Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and it wound up about O.J. Simpson and Marshall Clark.
But no, if you stop it, this is how us wrestlers talk, because it's all related to how we draw money.
You all tie it together.
We tie it together because you can't. What made the Iron Sheik so big and made Hogan so big, it wasn't Hogan, it wasn't the Sheik, it wasn't Vince, it was Ayatollah Khomeini when he held American hostages.
And then that got Sheik cut, that's for sure.
Vince put the belt on an Irania.
Yeah.
It blew the tear. The people wanted to kill him. Vince's biggest fear was the reason they took the belt off took him off in 1 month. They were afraid he was gonna get killed. The people went crazy.
Sheik got real heat from
Man,
the fans. People believed in that
police
severe.
escorts coming in there. Wrestling always centered around that, around what is going on in the real world, because that's what people is talking about. That's what people are connecting about. It's just like in my day, if you have a black wrestler, that was a big deal because in the 70s, it was right at the beginning of desegregation. So for a black guy to walk out there, it meant a whole lot. But then you take 20 years later, after 20 years after segregation, it's not a big deal no more.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
as
saying?
more time
when
goes
Iron
on.
Sheik won that belt, and they was holding American hostages during the Reagan administration and all that stuff, man, people was hot over all that. They wanted to go to war with Iran then. So Vince always followed. You know what teamed up? Stop and think about what teamed up the Iron Sheik And Sergeant Slaughter, what started all that stuff? When the Russians shot down the Korean airline. That what turned Slaughter a babyface against Sheik and
Volkov.
And Volkov. Volkov was leaving. He only had 1 week left.
Really?
He was leaving. And
So
then
he
they
kinda
shot
lucked
down the
out,
airplane. They said, Vic, you can't go nowhere. Saba Simba. When Vince made Saba Simba, what was going on?
I'm not
The
sure.
release of Nelson Mandela.
Right. Okay, I do remember that. I must have. My God, I was in the 5th grade, but yeah, I remember that.
Wrestling always
Ties together with the real
always
world.
tied together. And another Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer that nobody ever talked about. He's a WWE Hall of Famer.
Who?
President Donald Trump.
He is a Hall of Famer.
He's
You're
a
right.
WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. He was paid awfully handsome for his WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 23.
He wears the
Several
same
million.
Hall of Fame
yeah.
ring as I do. And he knows all this stuff because he was around us wrestling. He knows about the audience. He knows how to work that audience. And if you know how to work that audience, you don't have to know how to wrestle.
Exactly.
Dusty Rhodes proved that.
Hogan wasn't a great technician, and look at
Neither
everything
was
he
Dusty
did.
Rhodes.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Tony, I tell you, I don't know how we wound up in this position, but it's been a very interesting
but if you
conversation.
was in a dressing room with wrestlers, see the way the fans talk is the way you normally talk. But with the wrestlers, they make that connection because in the person's everyday life, they're not really thinking about wrestling. See, the bad guy in my day was the bills, the car payment, the sick uncle, all the problems in a person's life. That was the bad guy. The good guy represents the fans. And when they see this, all the trouble that this bad guy is causing this good guy, and this good guy is able to go out there and fight every day to defend it, then that made the fan feel better about themselves. You see, they wanted somebody to come and cheer for them to fight. They fight for them. So when they cheer for the good guy, they was really cheering for themselves.
Yeah.
And so when they go back in the regular world, then they can handle their problems a whole lot better. They call it ring psychology.
Yeah.
Ring psychology, and it related to everyday event. That's why I say, if you notice, when Vince Jr. took over the office, he took all the minorities off the top position.
We talked about that earlier today.
And he replaced it with other, because that's what people want to be represented, something that look like them. They feel more comfortable with something that look like them. Just like when you go to the Olympics, if the American team is winning, you love the Olympics. If we're losing like we just did last year in the Winter Olympics with Russia, with Germany and Norway, that's why Americans don't watch the Winter Olympics that much. We don't do good at it.
All right, that's interesting.
We watch the Summer Olympics because we do good.
Yeah.
We don't do good in the Winter Olympics. Look, we got what we got, like 3rd place or 4th place. We was at the bottom.
Wasn't the most successful
We
run,
was not
yeah.
good at all. I mean, we had one girl that came out, about 1 or 2 people that came out smelling like a rose. But in the Summer Olympics, we really watched that because we don't watch hockey or soccer that much here, because soccer is the original football.
Right.
But when America won its independence from Europe, they want to change everything. That's why we have a president instead of a king. We have football, but in every place on the planet, except for America, football is soccer. They call it football because you play with your foot. We the one that create American football.
I like American football better.
Yeah,
That's
well,
just me.
I do too, but what I'm saying is that we can relate to American football. We can't relate to curling and all this other stuff.
No, I'm not familiar. I've heard the term curling. I don't know what it is.
We don't know nothing about that stuff. We watch the European sport, like what in Scotland where they run and take the big telegram pole and throw it. We don't know nothing about that. That ultimate fighting, we relate.
Right, yeah.
Karate and judo, we don't.
Now, why is that?
It's not our thing.
All right. Well,
It wasn't created here. I mean, the Orientals, they're the one that created it. It's more popular in the Orient than in here. Boxing is an American creation.
Another good thought.
Boxing, wrestling, not pro wrestling, but amateur wrestling is not very popular in America either.
No.
It was not created by Americans. It was created by the Greeks.
Right, yeah.
It's more of a Greek, it's more of a European sport. I'm talking about wrestling. I ain't talking about, showman wrestling. I'm talking about real wrestling. But I used to wrestle in high school, and the wrestling was the same time as basketball. Now, everybody went to the basketball game. When I look up in the student of a wrestling match, there may be
many people.
5 people there.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about amateur wrestling in this country. It was not created here. We only support what is ours. We don't
It's a
support.
good way to look at it.
You have to understand your audience.
All right, Tony, I tell you, we've gone all over the place on this one. Any final thoughts where we began this about Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, 2 WWE Hall of Famers?
I don't know them.
Kevin Nash helped you out with a rent-a-car.
That's all I know
You resent
about.
the contracts they got in WCW because you wanted a $750 grand.
That's why I said when I was in Legend House, the one thing about Legend House that I really enjoy, there was nobody in Legend House that I knew.
Really? You weren't
I didn't
familiar?
know them.
Really?
They never said more than 2 words to me. See, back in the old days, they had what they call cliques.
Yeah, sure.
You had to be part of that clique. You had certain guys that hung out together. The only guy that hung out with me in the WWF, when I was with WWF at that time, was SD. That was it.
Really?
SD was the only guy that I knew. When I was down south, the only guy that hung out with me was Tommy Rich. I didn't know these other guys. They would shun you.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Tony.
They're not all that friendly to each other like people think. You go to the dressing room right now, you will see a group of guys sitting here playing cards, another group guy over here doing something, and they won't say 2 words to each other.
Well, you heard it from the Hall of Famer himself. We talked about the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan. We started somewhere on Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. We wound up on economics.
Because I know about economics, I don't know them guys. They're strangers.
All right. Well,
I know more about you. I know about Kevin Nash. He never talked to me.
all right. Well, wrestling fans, it's been a heck of an episode. We enjoy having Tony here. Until we speak again with the next great episode of Memories and Legends, we hope you and yours be well.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Philadelphia Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Saturday, April the 27th, 1985. In the opening contest, the British Bulldogs battled the Hart Foundation to a time-limit draw in the 2 teams' very first match. Tito Santana and David Sammartino beat WWF Intercontinental Champion Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus Beefcake. Rowdy Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton with the win over S.D. Jones and George Wells. Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham defeated WWF Tag Team Champions Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik in a non-title match. Superfly Jimmy Snuka and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat victorious over Charlie Fulton and Moondog Spot. WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan retained the title over Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Jimmy Snuka won a $50,000 Tag Team Battle Royal. If you were in Philadelphia live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the link in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view, watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.